Well, first, congrats with the movie. And Mountain Heads follows four very rich tech CEOs in a weekend, while the rest of the world deals with the consequences of their actions. And I was wondering how your previous experiences with this kind of subject helped you to be part of this project.
Yeah, previous projects, I guess. Yeah, Succession was obviously the last thing I did, and it's in some ways it's similar in that it's like concerns rich people and media power, but that was, I guess, the old world of legacy media power, and this is the one which is dominating our lives right now, right? The people who control social media and new media, and so I didn't start intending to do a piece in this world. I just couldn't stop thinking about these guys or hearing their tone of voice once I tuned into it from doing a bit of research, reading a lot of long form journalism, and in particular listening to them on podcasts.
Right. Can you tell me more about this?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I start after Succession, I had took a bit of a break, and I wrote some book reviews, and one of them was about Sam Bankman-Fried, the crypto entrepreneur, and who went to jail, and the Michael Lewis book, and that made me go back to a bunch of research that we'd done for Succession for Alexander Skarsgård's character Matsson, who was a tech world person, and yeah, it's just I started reading more and more of those biographies and business books about Silicon Valley and the Facebook, Twitter, Uber, all the big tech companies, the Mag 7 as they call them, and what's interesting about those men, and they are all men at the head of those companies, is unlike previous eras of wealth, like the robber barons, the Frick and J.P. Morgan and Rockefellers, who's hard to get to know their how they actually spoke. These guys go on each other's podcasts. They do TED Talks. Their earnings calls all public. They're very available, and they like to try and craft their own narratives in the world. So you can get a sense of their tones of voice in a way that was not possible for Rupert Murdoch doesn't talk very often in public. Sumner Redstone, not a great deal. That era of business leader was more private. These guys know that part of their business project is to tell a story about how their company is changing the world, and so they have to make themselves available to tell that story, which means that for a writer, their voices are available.
Right. The movie begins looking like a Succession spin-off to eventually become more like a Hunger Games franchise. And how was to build this, to escalate the events?
Yeah. There's a pivotal scene in the middle, right, where they all with the three guys who are going to do this outrageous act, decide on their plan of action, and I knew from the beginning where I was going in the film, so that was the most difficult scene, but it's one of the ones I ended up enjoying writing and shooting the most, is to go from an idea to action and try to make it plausible for the audience that these theoretically very rational guys could make a really scary decision through the power of speech and through the power of argument to each other. So that was a pivotal one, and I knew I had to take a lot of time over it. But I actually found it the technical challenge brought out a lot of comedy, and I loved writing that scene. And it's the one they're all in a bedroom and they can see Jeff, their friend, erstwhile friend, across the way, and that I found that scene fascinating to work on.
Right. Do you like to be like an expert into about this word? Why it interested you?
Yeah, I mean, expert. Maybe you have to. It's maybe like being a journalist a little bit. Like you have to. I like to do a lot of research. I still don't know this world as well as we had a couple. Marissa Marr, who was our financial and business consultant on Succession, was on this again. Jessica Lesson. We have consultants specifically from this world to make sure I don't make mistakes. I like to read tons. I'm still not really an expert, but I get enough that I know how to write, and I get enough, hopefully, to know what I don't know, so that if there's bits which are too complicated or technical for me to try to achieve in the script, I know not to go there. So that you must know that as a journalist, right? It's like, okay, I know the territory enough to know, I know what I need to know to write this story, and I know that I'm not going to start bullshitting people about the stuff that I don't know.